So welcome back to a video edition of the Weekend Common Constitutionalist podcast, and I am Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist. Yeah, who am I? And I'm back with the video portion this time. Enough audio, enough no. I've got my technical issues worked out. I'm no longer ill. I was on my deathbed for like 2 days, and then all of a sudden it cleared up as inexplicably as it came on last weekend. So that's just the way it is. So today we've got one topic, and it is going to be Trump's asshole remark. Yes, that's what we're going to spend our entire time on. That and little Dick Durbin and the like. So that's what we've got today on the Common Constitutionalist. And you can see I've got my Tom Brady t-shirt, or my Tom Brady game jersey on. Go Pats. I'm actually recording this on Saturday afternoon for Sunday release. But that's the way it's going to be. So that's it today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You are listening.
No, you limey. They're not listening. They're watching.
The Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
All right, welcome back. And as I said, this is what we're going to discuss today, Trump's asshole remark. And I've got my notes. I haven't done the video podcast in a few weeks, so I just got to make sure I stick to my notes. This isn't an article by anyone but me. These are my personal notes. So hopefully I'll stick with them, and we'll see how this thing goes. I first want to start off with an observation made several years ago by one Glenn Beck. Long before Trump ever considered running for the presidency. Now, those who don't care for Glenn, just stay with me here. This is not about Beck. This is about Trump. This is about the asshole remarks. This is about little Dick Durbin. Those guys. It isn't about Beck. It's just about his prognostication, for want of a better term. So he was talking about what a polished, at the time, Beck was talking about what a polished, buttoned-up phony that Obama was, and frankly, still is, at least in my opinion. He was aloof, seemingly unflappable, a great speech maker. Not a great speaker, but a great speech maker. He could read a teleprompter like nobody's business. And he was always mindful of his words, as like a college professor might be. So Glenn said that we must be careful in our next choice for president, because otherwise it's likely that we're going to choose the polar opposite, both in terms of policy and also in demeanor. And Glenn predicted that the next president might be what he said was a gravy-stained president. The guy that spills gravy down his shirt is just kind of uncouth, unkempt. He spills gravy on his shirt and he doesn't wipe it up because he doesn't much care. It's just the kind of guy he is. He's not polished or buttoned up at all. He's the opposite of Obama, and he's more a blue collar. He acts like it, he speaks like it, and that's what it is. And it wasn't a hard prediction, frankly. After all, if you trust the pendulum theory, you know that the pendulum tends to always wildly swing from one end to the other. It never goes from hard left to center and then to right. It always goes from right to left, and it never ends up in the center or center left or center right or whatever. It just always swings wildly from one to the other. It's just the way it always works. So, in Obama, we had this aloof global socialist, anti-colonialist who hates America as it was founded. And I think he still does. Nothing's changed. So naturally, the opposite end of the pendulum or the spectrum was likely to be some sort of Trump candidate and some sort of Trump president. Because it's the polar opposite of the buttoned-up Obama, for want of a better term. You get a loud, gaudy, brash, nationalist, steak-eating, cursing, bad language, whatever, blue-collar kind of guy that's stuck in a suit. And that kind of entails, at least to me, is descriptive of Trump. He's buttoned up and he dresses nice and whatever, but his demeanor is more of a blue collar. He acts like it, he speaks like it, his tone, everything about him is more blue collar, yo Adrian type of thing. And he also doesn't have a problem telling you that he's the greatest, greatest president, greatest everything, whereas Obama also thought he was the greatest everything and still does, but he just left it to the sycophantic, compliant media to let us know that he was the greatest, so he didn't have to say it. All right, so we were destined to have a Trump-like candidate. In other words, assuming Trump said what he did about these crap hole countries, and they are crap hole countries. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not sugarcoat it. That doesn't mean the people, and he didn't mean the people. He just meant the countries, and they are crap hole countries. These countries in Africa, these countries in Central and Southern and South America, and the Middle East and whatever, and Haiti and some of these other Caribbean countries. These are s-hole countries. They just are. It just and denying it just makes you look foolish. It doesn't have any reflection, doesn't make a reflection on the people that are forced to live there. It's just the countries on themselves because of the leadership and whatever. So, but the outrage shouldn't have been a surprise. But people they were surprised by the s-hole comment. And the Democrats, they just went ballistic and whatnot. And these guys are just, I'll get into that in a minute. So he probably said something like that. He may not have used the s-hole word, but he probably said something like that, if not the exact words. But you know what? So what? It was a private meeting. It wasn't intended for public consumption, but you never say anything if you're the opposition party, like the Republicans. You never say anything like that in front of Democrats because they can't and won't keep a secret. Okay? It's against their DNA. It doesn't suit them to keep those kinds of secrets because, again, everything is political for these people. It doesn't matter whether it's state secrets or, whatever it happens to be, national secrets or just something like this that was just said off the cuff. And again, like somebody said on Fox, what was the context of these remarks? We have no idea. All we know is that Durbin and a few other people said he said them, and some other people said he didn't use that exact phrase, including Trump. Who cares? Whatever. This is the way Trump speaks. If you don't like it, vote him out next time. Boo-hoo. Like sticks and stones type of thing, right? But like I said, these countries are S-hole countries, and that's not racist. If the same Haitian island nation was populated by uneducated, non-English speaking, three-toothed rednecks from the back hills of West Virginia, Trump would have said the same thing. It's no reflection on the people. It's the country. It's the leadership. It's just the way these places have been organized and the way they've been run for decades and decades and decades that makes them S-hole country. I'm sure that Haitian people are perfectly wonderful people, at least probably most of them, but they are utterly uneducated. They speak Haitian Creole, not English, and they have no appreciable skills. Same with the other crap hole countries, which just means that we're inviting myriads of wards of the state. That's who we're inviting in because for some reason they're deserving of being in America because of what they've gone through in their own country. I don't get that. So everyone's all in a lather over the fact that he mentioned that we should have more people from Norway. And I've been watching and listening, and I haven't heard a good explanation as to why he mentioned Norway. Well, I know why he didn't mention Norway, and it's not because he's a racist. Because we've heard from a number of people that are opponents and advocates of Trump to say he doesn't have a racial bone in his body. He doesn't care. It's just all business to him. But no, it wasn't racist. And but why did he single out Norway? Well, the reason why this whitey white nation sprung to Trump's mind so easily is because he had just met with Norway's Prime Minister, Erna Solberg. That's why. He just met earlier with the Norway Prime Minister, and so that's why Norway stuck in his head. Duh. But have you heard that? You know, whatever. If it wasn't Norway, it would have been some other country that he had just met with an ambassador or with a leader, head of state or something like that would have popped in his head. Merkel or somebody like that. It could have been Germany. It could have been England. It could have been any number of countries. It just happened to be Norway because Norway happened to be Norway on my mind. Whatever. But somehow that's a scandal because the left, those on the left are such despicable liars, and the right is also too incompetent to think on their feet. That and a lot of the Republicans don't like Trump as much as Durbin does and want to see him gone, frankly. So let's just face facts. Durbin, Schumer, Pelosi, all those people, they're just bad people. Durbin is a bad guy. And if, in my opinion, he would probably offer up one of his own members of his family in order to get Trump out of office. He'd make that deal. Well, you know, if the devil came down and said, Durbin went to the crossroads to make a deal with the devil, and he said that you're going to have to give up one of the members of your own family and I'll get rid of Trump for you. Done. No problem. And that's my opinion. Durbin's that much of a bag of dirt. That's my opinion. And the reason is that, well, actually, forget the reason. I've been droning on for a little while. Let's take a quick break, and I'll get back to the reason is. Okay, welcome back, and let's continue with the reason is. The reason why I say these Democrats are just dirtbags. They're disingenuous liars, and they'll say anything because everything is political. It's all for the power, it's all for the control, and it's all to advance the political agenda. To these people, nothing else matters. It matters more than family. It matters more than friends. It matters more than the nation. It doesn't seem to make any difference to these people as long as they can advance their political agenda. And that leaked Democrat DACA memo proves it. Is because they want DACA, they want the Dreamers, they love the Dreamers. No, they don't love the freaking Dreamers. If the Dreamers were allowed to, had to go back to Mexico, but somehow we produced a law, we made a law, and it was signed into law by Trump or whoever the president at the time, that because you were once a Dreamer, you could mail in a ballot and vote for a Democrat, then they would send them all back. They wouldn't care. It doesn't matter. And the DACA memo, the leaked Democrat DACA memo proves that the only reason why they care is that the political agenda, to advance it, to maintain power, to maintain control, and to get those votes from a perpetual underclass. That's what they're looking for. Sheesh. Hello, notes. Hey, I'm sticking to my notes pretty good. Proud of myself. Yeah, baby. And it's not about Haitians, it's not about Americans, it's not about El Salvadorans or Hondurans or whoever the crap it happens to be. And remember, if you recall, I think it was back in 2005 or 2006, that Durbin is the same lion sack of blank who likened our troops to Nazi and to Pol Pot, and he likened Gitmo to a Soviet gulag in order to advance the anti-George Bush agenda back then. So to Durbin, again, it's just all politics. It doesn't make any difference. And the guy just needs to get gone. Whatever. So, now I don't mean to be crass about this, but Trump has a point. Why do we need so many more Haitians? There's I can't remember, but I think there's several 100,000 to over 1 million Haitians or something in this country. Why do we need so many more Haitians? What's the Haitian contingency bring to America? What skills do they bring to America? Whatever. But, and Durbin says, now this is correct, as much as I don't like it, as much as you probably don't like it, that Haitians, quote, have temporary protected status in the United States because they were victims of crisis, disasters, and political upheaval. The largest group is El Salvadoran, the second is Honduran, and the third is Haitian, unquote. Okay? That's what Durbin said. So my question is, and will continue to be, why us? Why every time something happens, we have to open our doors to these people? I mean, not that there's anything wrong with these people, but how many more people can we accommodate comfortably in this country? We're already broken and crap as it is. Why do they have to come here? I get that we're the kindest nation. We're the greatest nation ever to be on the face of the earth, but we can't continue to accommodate everybody. Frankly, wouldn't it just be cheaper to go to Haiti? Send a humongous contingent to go to Haiti, construction workers, security people, whatever, and just rebuild the island? In the long run, it would probably be cheaper than trucking them all over here, letting them all in, and then they stay forever, and then chain migration kicks in, and half of the island is living in Florida now or something. It's ridiculous. What exactly does temporary status? You know, he says that Haitians have temporary protected status in the United States because they're victims of crisis, disasters, blah, 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 blah. So what does temporary status mean? No one ever explains that because I guess no one ever asked. No reporter is curious enough to ask what exactly is temporary status, and if it's temporary, when the crap does it end? When does it sunset? Well, I personally don't think it means anything. It's just a word. I think it means temporary as it's as temporary as saying we're going to enact a temporary tax for this disaster or that, whatever. And I've listed a few temporary taxes that I thought of or looked up that aren't temporary, but they were meant to be temporary taxes, just like the temporary status will probably become permanent status if we don't watch ourselves. The temporary Johnstown flood tax of 1936, which we still have. Temporary flood tax to pay for the flood cleanup in 1936 from the Johnstown flood, and we still have that on the books. The temporary cigarette tax of 0.1 cent per pack, and you know what that was enacted for? To help fund the Civil War. Yes, the Civil War. The temporary gas tax. Yes, the gas tax was meant to be temporary, and it began in 1932, as many of these taxes did under the FDR administration. The temporary telephone excise tax. Why was that enacted in 1898? Well, that was to help fund the Spanish-American War. Yeah, well, I think we're a little past the Spanish-American War. Although with all the Mexican immigrants coming into this country illegally, I guess that's not much. It's not much of a stretch. But at any rate, the temporary firearms tax, which was enacted in 1932 under FDR, and it was supposed to expire in 1936. Guess what's still around? That temporary firearms tax. The New York State has lots of temporary taxes that became permanent. One of them was a temporary personal income tax surcharge. That also magically became permanent. So, fabulous. In other words, left to politicians, there is no such thing as temporary status tax or otherwise. Politicians just bank on the public just forgetting a program was ever instituted, so it just lives on, buried in many multiple thousand-page bills that they offer up. And you've seen these bills that these people offer up. It's absolutely insane. They're thousands and thousands of pages long, and you can't read the bill. Which reminds me, I'm reminded of how the now disgraced Democrat Congressman John Conyers, as if he wasn't a disgrace before he harassed women. He's always been a disgrace. He said in 2009, if you recall, of Obamacare, quote, "I love these members that get up and say, read the bill. what good is reading the bill if it's 1,000 pages and you don't have 2 days and 2 lawyers to find out what it means after you read the bill, unquote. That's as good a Conyers as I'll ever do. And thankfully now he's gone and we don't need to worry about him. But although he's probably going to be working for some lobbying firm on K Street now, but whatever. And that's the point about these temporary things. They put in a temporary thing, they make it a small little fee, and then they bury it as some humongous bill that nobody's going to read. And then it just lives on ad infinitum. It grows legs, and it becomes either a permanent tax because it's voted into permanency, or by default it becomes a de facto permanent tax because it's just a few lines that's buried in a bill that's 2,400 pages long, and no one's going to read the dadgum thing. They just skim over it and they don't care. It's just one single little line item, and it doesn't amount to a hill of beans over a $3, $4, $5 trillion budget, whatever they're $4 trillion now. That it doesn't amount to anything, and so there it is. And so it's either by default permanent or voted permanent. It's the same thing with these temporary status things. They're all just such a crock of crap. Why these people have temporary status is beyond me. Why they have to come here is beyond me. I understand it, that we are the most generous people. We are the best people on the planet. You see it all the time. Our people are the first ones to show up in other countries with aid and with help. We're the first ones to reach out. We're the first ones to give until it hurts. That's what we do. But we can't continue to allow these people from these crap hole countries, and it's not the people, it's the country, it's the leadership, it's the dictators, it's all these people that have made these countries asshole countries. It's not the people's fault, except for the fact that they don't rise up. Eventually, they put up with it. Eventually, you've got to take a stand. That's just me, whatever. So the bottom line here is that Trump, assuming he said what he did, and I'm sure he probably said something like that, although these guys are denying that he said S-hole. So what? So he said it. So what? He could have been more measured, but that's just not him. He's the gravy-stained president. It's just the way he is. I don't like the way he tweets. I don't like the way he talks. I just don't care for it. I don't listen to his speeches because I can't listen to his speeches. It just gets under my skin. It grates on me. But you know what? I voted for the guy, A, because he wasn't Hillary, and B, because I had hoped that what his policies were going to be in real life were the same things that he ran on during the campaign, and I liked the policy ideas that he ran on during the campaign. Immigration, national security, those types of things, regulation, Supreme Court nominees, all that kind of crap. And so far, if he could just be moot, it would be fabulous, because I really like what he's doing policy-wise. I just don't care to listen to him. I don't read his tweets. I don't care. It's just water off a duck's back. He could call everybody in the world assholes. What's the difference at this point? If the policies are enacted, they're going to live far beyond his presidency and far beyond his life, hopefully, with the reduced regulations and the tax cuts and everything else he's done. So who cares if he's the gravy-stained president, if he's a foul-mouthed SOB? Frankly, I don't care. The fact remains, though, that he is not wrong about these countries. But the Dems are banking on the American people to only be affected by his words and not by the damaging effect of actual leftist policies. And that's the point. They don't want you to concentrate on the fact that they're against all these pro-American, pro-growth policies. What they do is they search out, and Trump gives them cannon fodder all the time. He gives them ammunition all the time to beat on him and to change the narrative away from the policy achievements that he's been able to accomplish over the past year, which have been extraordinary at minimum. He's done a lot of good. Now, unlike other people, I don't care. I don't wish I wish that he would just stop tweeting. I wish that he would just stop this, that. You know, frankly, part of the reason may be why he's gotten so much done is because the left is so busy concentrating on his nonsensical, inane tweets and his speeches and everything, that it just distracts them. The symbolism over the substance distracts them. It's like, you know, the dog who's looking at you and you're trying to show him instructions, and a squirrel goes, squirrel, and he just loses his concentration. The left is the same way with Trump. They follow him around and they look for dirt to dig up, and when they find something like this, they pounce on it. Fine, let them pounce all they like. As long as the policies continue to flow out of this guy, as long as he's able to get the stuff done that he promised that he would do, and frankly, almost more than any other president, Trump has lived up to the promises so far that he's been able to. So that's all I've got. This is the Common Constitutionalist. I'm Brent Smith, the Common Constitutionalist, signing off. Go Patriots. If you don't like the Patriots, on you. Who cares? Maybe next year. And then we'll say that next year too. Sorry. But who knows? They could lose. Anything could happen. That's why they play the game, bro. At any rate, see ya.